Hello and welcome to the March edition of the Art and Soul Show on Swindon 105.5, SWADS on the air. While you listen to this, your ears can't look elsewhere. On this month's show, we have interviews with local leading light in the fight against domestic violence, Mandy Thomas, and from Lift Psychology, Ellie Wilkinson. We also have the usual mix of local music, poetry, and other creative expressions.
The first track today is called Translucent Ocean Flowers by local artist James Osborne.
That was Translucent Ocean Flowers by local artist James Osborne.
And now the first part of a three-part interview over the next three shows with local leading light in the fight against domestic violence. Local artists and campaigner Mandy Thomas interviewed by SWADS director Julie. Mandy starts with what she is working on right now.
Basically to highlight signs of domestic violence, because some of them are quite mild and you don't actually see what's happening from the beginning, and that it develops into something that gets out of control. So we want to educate the children as to these signs from a very early age. I've been going up and down the country with various groups to push for a lesson to be brought into the curriculum covering this subject, because I feel it is needed. If you give a child a voice, they can explain what's happening in their homes. If they're not aware that things that are happening aren't normal, they can get help. So if we have this lesson brought in, it gives the children a voice to speak out, to come forward and then get the help. I tried pushing this a few years ago with Jermaine to go up and down the country to do this project, but the funding was pulled from the government. So we're hoping if we approach it from different angles that and through different groups that eventually they will get the gist that they do need this lesson brought in. Deterrence is always the way forward, because if you deter a crime, then you don't have so many people in prison, and then there won't be so many broken people. I get quoted all the time about how much it costs the government per year. It's 98 billion. This was a few years ago, on the aftermath of something happening to a person, medication, hospitalisation and things like that. So basically, if you go back to the beginning and deter it, then it will save the government a lot of money in the long run, and it will help people.
Yeah, so I think highlighting it hopefully will prevent it.
Yeah.
Do you think that actually, will you be able to get the government's interest again? Is that something that you're working on? Is it something that they potentially are now looking to change their mind about and put the funding back in?
Well, I do hope so, because I have meetings with quite a few ministers over the years, and I've been to a few conferences where I've spoken to people on this subject. It's vast. It's a wide subject of many subjects, so it's something that they get overloaded with, and they think, oh, it's too much to handle, I can't deal with that. So we try and approach it from small subjects, from different angles, so that more things get covered that way. And in the long run, hopefully, it will all come together, and then we will have a big change happen. But we do need the government's backup.
Well, it's a huge undertaking, isn't it? Because I suppose if you're encouraging children to speak out and recognise signs...
Yeah.
And you have quite a lot of children in one class that suddenly think, oh,
yeah,
that could be me. You need the resources behind that to manage the situation.
Exactly that, which is why, Jermaine and me were going to go out there and do it, but we needed the government's backup for the children coming forward to get the support. We would explain in our course what's acceptable, what's not acceptable of behaviour, and then go from there. But like I said, we get the funding pulled from everything we do. It's quite frustrating.
Because as you say, it's sort of a 30-minute intervention that could go out in schools instead of something else, say, or just added in. Yeah. That could change.
And it's
so
important
much.
because it's life skills. That's what I wanted to call the lesson. Actual life skills. So when they're living at home and then when they leave home, because children are thrown out into the world and they don't understand what's out there and how to deal with it. They need to be told, they need to be educated, and not all parents sit with their children and talk. And I think in this day and age of the mobile phones and the iPads, there's less communication in families. That needs to be addressed as well. That needs to be covered in the life skills lesson, where parents should be listening to their children and vice versa about
it's that
the
whole
real world.
Interaction, isn't it? It's missing. It's starting.
It's fading.
Improve.
It's quite scary.
So that's one of the things that you're doing. And I believe you're off up to Westminster.
I've been working with The Sun for over a month on a piece, basically covering benefit caps and the effects on the refugees. Basically, when the government keep doing these cuts, it means that refugees are closing, they're losing staff, they're losing money, and so it means there's not a safe place for somebody to run to. And that is taking away the choice of life and death with a lot of people. If you have nowhere to go to, you're forcing those people back into a situation where they will get abused, and death rates are on the up, and children are affected. So it's a huge subject, which is why it's took us so long over the last sort of 4 weeks of interviews to get the right words to be stated on the Sunday paper. I'll be meeting Stella to talk about the benefits cap and my book at Westminster. And we've got our Chief Executive of Women's Aid, Katie, coming along. So it will be a heated discussion, I think, because we are covering the subjects within my book, which is why I do what I do.
Thinking about what you're just saying, for those that have read the book, it's extremely powerful, and it does highlight, and I appreciate it goes back and things have changed, but they still haven't changed enough.
No.
And I think, again, it's about government cuts again, isn't it, around the refugees and the safety. And so these things, again, I think you've got a lot of work cut out.
I have, I think.
To get people to listen. And it's the money, isn't it? It's about the money.
It's always the money.
Yeah.
And ignorance as well, high up.
Yeah.
I think unless somebody's affected by any of these subjects, they don't understand it. So it takes people like me to keep going out there and sort of bombarding them basically with the truth of what's happening in the real world. They don't like to hear it. I've been told to be quiet because it's a gruesome subject. It is a gruesome subject, and there are really horrid things happening behind closed doors, but it's not going away. So what I do to raise awareness of what's happening behind the closed doors, bring it out into the open to resolve it, to stop it.
And I think once it's acknowledged, it's like everything. Once you admit that, yes, we agree it's going on, they have to address it.
It's hurtful having the denial and the ignorance to people like me, because that ignorance has caused my life. You know, all the things that we've been through is because of ignorance. It's because of stubborn people not wanting to change the laws on sentencing. It's across the board of the justice system needs a big shake-up to change it, to make it more real and deter crime. Because as I see it, the sentencing that's out there at the minute doesn't deter this crime, and it's proved in the fact of reoffenders that they keep going back. Paedophiles, they keep going back, and rapists, they keep going back. So when they're letting these people out into the general public, knowing that they're going to harm another human being and do this crime, it hurts me that they don't get that. And they go through the justice system again to be arrested again. It actually costs the government more money to do it that way than to keep them inside for a longer period of time.
Do you think the sentences are way too lenient?
That's my gripe. Sentences don't make sense. My ex got 15 years, he served 6, and I was warned that he was going to be released within weeks, and I had to move. We had to change our names, go underground, and live under witness protection because he was being freed. It's like you're giving somebody freedom, one person freedom, and then you're taking 6 people's freedom away.
I was just thinking, so you end up the prisoner. Because
Exactly.
actually you're the one having to hide and lock yourself away. And that's exactly what I was just thinking.
For them to be free.
So they're free, and
Yeah.
you almost are a prisoner in your own town.
I live in a safe house. It's like in the film. I have a safe room. And we live under rulings from witness protection, and you're put into a box because you're letting out a person they know's dangerous. So the way the justice system deals with it is, right, well, we'll try and protect you, group of people. I had a big family, so it was a lot of children, and it's like, we're trying to protect you so that person can be free. And then they tell you that they're signing into their houses that they're sent to, and they're not. And there's so many things, there's so many cock-ups that happen, and this is what causes deaths, where they don't realise the seriousness of letting somebody out that's dangerous, that threats to kill. It shouldn't be happening, and the justice system should be taking this seriously, and they don't. And that's why I'm a thorn in the side, because I won't be quiet, because my purpose, I died and I came back, and it's like, why am I here? Why have I been brought back? So it's about making a change.
Yeah.
A change is going to come, and I thought it was going to be last year that we were going to have this big change, because I can feel it surfacing and bubbling. All the emails that I get, all the people writing to me about their individual unique stories about how they've been let down by the justice system.
Nobody knows what goes on behind closed doors.
And it's a lot of people. People don't understand as well. We were talking about 1 in 4 before. For domestic violence, it's 1 in 2 now, and children get affected. They grow up, and it's into their psyche.
I was going to
changes
say,
their behaviour.
You've got the children as well as yourself, so the bruises disappear. But what's gone on inside, emotionally and internally, is just soul destroying.
It can be soul destroying if you're not strong. I've known many people break down, and suicide is on the up, and the ages are on the way down. We had a 6-year-old commit suicide because of this subject. It's so vast, it's so upsetting, and it's so deep for me, because I lost my son. It's, why are they not getting this? How serious it is. It's not just a woman with a black eye. It's a whole range of subjects of how it affects you mentally, how it affects you physically, how it changes you as a person. I had 5 children, and I lost Daniel. Jermaine's my eldest now, and he struggles to deal with how he was treated as a child to how he is as a man now, how he's meant to behave, and he battles in his mind with things. It's not something like people say to me, "Oh, you're free now. He's he's not living with you. You're free. You're not free.
No.
You're totally not
It's
free."
what
because
you've internalised, isn't it? It does the damage.
you can try. I mean, I went to counselling for 8 years, and thank God they saved me. There are services out there that are brilliant, that you can sit and talk and tell them everything, and they will help you. And I implore people to come forward when they're feeling at their lowest, because I've been there. I've been at that low point where I just thought, I can't play this game anymore. I don't have the energy, don't have the health, and then I have to pick myself back up. But not everybody has that little fight in them to get them back up again. It's like falling down a black hole and you can't climb out, and you just don't see a way out. Like Daniel said, that he just felt like he was having to live in a box and he wanted to be free. He didn't see a way out. He didn't see that the justice system were helping us. He couldn't understand why they were letting my ex out. It was like so many questions and so much confusion, and children take this all on board and they take it from their childhood into their adulthood. So it affects society. If it's 1 in 2, how many people are being affected? How many people are being medicated? How much is that costing the government each year? And this subject is growing. It's like a disease. It's spreading amongst the people, and it's so many things that I talk out about. It's the gaming industry, the music industry. It's all about putting women down and showing them half naked. And, the gaming industry is about killing and getting points for raping and killing. What message is that giving out to the children? It's like, these things aren't acceptable. Too many things are being put out there that are not acceptable, that have become mainstream.
Yeah.
And it makes our job harder, because we're fighting for changes, and we want our children to grow up in a safe world where they can have a relationship with somebody and it'll be okay and just live normally. But it's more and more, it's happening so much. It baffles me why the government are not dealing with this, and it's not top of the agenda. And my one line that I keep saying is, put human worth at the top of the agenda where it belongs.
Yeah,
money
and it would probably
is always
save
at the top.
millions, wouldn't it?
It would.
It would save millions.
It would save a lot of money, and it would save lives.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right with the gaming industry, with everything. Things are normalised.
They are.
They're normalised, so it's okay. So, like you say, you can see people and they're doing these gaming things. They're fighting and killing people, and then they get up and they run off. So they think it's normal.
It goes into their subconscious,
and it goes
as well.
in, and it's a culture. So I think you're right, and I wish you every luck.
That was part 1 of 3 interviews with local artist and campaigner Mandy Thomas. The next will follow in the next 2 shows. Up next on our show is a band called Unfortunate Hero with a track called When We Were Here.
That was Unfortunate Hero with a track called When We Were Here. And now a poem called Let Sentence Reflect Repentance by local poet Mandy Thomas.
Let sentence reflect repentance. You lured me down to hell's hot pit, and there I stayed for 18 years. You preached the devil, mocked my God. You brought me to 1,000 tears. You believed everything you did was right, as you tore my soul apart each night. My pain became a source of your needs. It powered you to watch me bleed. Your hate, your evil, your vulgar tongue, an eternal game, destruction done. Inflictions, wounding, terroristic gore, you abused me, used me till you could no more. Your aim was to daily mentally break me, yet not forsake me, no death to set me free. You dangled me, hung me, burnt me to the core. You beat me, raped me, kept coming back for more. You wouldn't leave me, wouldn't let me escape your nightmare world. Your laughter at my suffering in agony as I curled. A scuttled shiver raced down the centre of my spine. Continuous bombardment of words would all unwind, slicing like shards of glass in the corners of my mind. Shadows and reflections of a horrifying kind. A past that haunts the present, a future I can't find. Sleep, a gift to those who can, I beg to see me through. Yet no amount of tiredness will allow me to. Inflictions run through veins of pain, affecting generations, driven insane. In their eyes and on their minds embedded, impossible to erase. Nightmares, infernal, internal, senses triggered in a blaze. This damnation, this affliction of which there is no cure. Survive, strive, reason for being alive. I must endure, I must implore. I am that I am, not by choice but by force. Now it's my time, and I am on freedom's course. I have reason to shout, I have full cause to complain. No amount of screaming will bring my babies back again. Nothing can remove the emotional damage that's been done. The visual recollections from the senses I can't run. They are engraved and controlling my central nervous system. A multitude of messed up perpetrations, counselling lists them. So this book I have written to expose a myriad of mistakes that did not have to happen if the system wasn't fake. If truth and justice had have ruled and reigned unto this day, I wouldn't have this story, and I wouldn't have to say that I pray my words rattle the heads of those who know and understand how fear lives and breathes under the surface it demands, a control that shakes your very bones to sand. This tainted, warped perception engraved into my soul, the reasons for my being, my God will mend me whole. It's clear for me to see now I've dug up and revealed the devil's work for you to read and the fact that I'm not healed. I am the subject of discussion, many minds I wish to feed. Revenge for me could be no sweeter than justice birthed from need, not greed. No repercussions, so let the victims speak. Listen to their inner pain, give strength to the broken and weak. What I seek is a global discussion where in the past we have been failed. Let sentence reflect repentance, a fitting time to be jailed. All pasts, present and future seek systems of justice, of truth. For those we have lost to this growing disease, let's educate with awareness our subsequent youth. Take a vow, speak out now, for all the voices that have cried. Tomorrows are not promised, so remember those who've died. Make our world a safer place where peace and love would reign. Let our united voice shake the earth, let our words fall from heaven like rain, soaking and disseminating the hearts and souls and brains of those who have the power to make the all-important change.
From Mandy Thomas's poem, we have moved to our interview of the month, where our man Sam has just asked Eddie Wilkinson who she works for.
I work for Lift Psychology Service in Swindon, which basically means that we offer support to adults from 16 years over with a range of problems. It could be you're just experiencing some stress, low mood, anxiety, bereavement. It could be any sort of life problem, and we offer one-to-ones or courses or computerised therapy for people experiencing any kind of distress, really.
Is Lift Psychology a free service?
Yes, it's a free service funded by the NHS. Yeah, so anybody can access our service that has a GP surgery in Swindon.
Is it evening or daytime?
Our office hours are Monday to Friday 9 till 5, but we do offer support in the evenings, and we offer courses in the evenings as well, and we do Saturday courses.
So what are the courses that you facilitate?
We do loads of different courses. I'm not sure how many exactly, but our main one is stress and mood management. We do an anxiety and worry course. We do one for depression. We do a self-esteem one for building confidence, more specific ones for bereavement or moving on from divorce or separation. And then we do lots of long-term health condition courses as well. So at the moment we're doing courses for people with COPD, or coronary heart disease or diabetes, or we do things like long-term pain or fibromyalgia. So a lot of sort of physical health conditions as well. We look at the psychological impact of those.
Can people do more than one course?
They can, yep. So you can access as many courses as you want to, but we would recommend only doing one at a time, because they're 2-hour courses for 4 weeks, and they have a lot of techniques in them. So I suppose we don't want people to overload themselves with loads of different tools. So we say to do one at a time. So maybe one for a month and then do a different one the month after, which we find works.
So where is Lift Psychology?
So our base is in Old Town. So it's at the end of Oakus Road. It's at Old Town Surgery, so above the GP surgery. But we do also work in all the GP surgeries in Swindon as well. We offer one-to-ones in the GP surgeries in Swindon. And we also do courses in the different community venues. So we do courses from New College or some different schools or Morden Children's Centre, so kind of different smaller venues. We might do a course there as well. And we're based at Sanford at the moment as well, Sanford House in Town Centre. So we are running a few courses there at the moment too.
So how does a referral work?
There's a bit of confusion about how to access our service, but it is self-referral. So it means that anybody at any point can access our service without a referral from the doctor or from another professional. So what you would do is either go on our website, book onto a course, it's like a psychoeducational course, or what you would do is book in with the psychology practitioner at your GP surgery. So to do that, you just need to call up your GP surgery and speak to the receptionist. So you don't need to see the doctor first to do that. Although a doctor might recommend you coming to see a psychology practitioner. So that's where it can be confusing. But at any time, somebody can access our service if they want to. It might just be that there's kind of a 2 to 4 week wait for a one-to-one at your GP surgery, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what is that website?
Okay, it is www.lift-swindon.awp.nhs.uk.
Why is it called Lift Psychology?
Oh, good one. It stands for Least Intervention First Time, which means that we try and offer people the least sort of intensive intervention first. When we see somebody, we might offer a stress course first, which might be just as helpful rather than going for sort of 6 one-to-one sessions, because that might be more intensive and they might not need that. So I suppose it's trying to offer people something more helpful and less maybe intense, first of all. And then if that didn't work, then we'd offer them we'd step them up to maybe one-to-ones and then maybe further one-to-ones or a different approach maybe.
What are the sizes of the group?
They vary. We can have 40 people on a stress course, but that very rarely happens because lots of people might not turn up on the evening for whatever reason. Maybe on average we might have like a 15 people on a stress course, or maybe up to 25 maybe, and then some of our courses can be as small as sort of 4 people. And we still run them because if there's 4 people that are engaged in the course, then we'll make sure that we still put it on anyway.
What supports do you offer for health conditions?
So at the moment, we're currently offering a lot of support for people with certain health conditions. So we're offering people with COPD, which is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or CHD, which is coronary heart disease, or diabetes type 2. We're offering either one-to-one support around sort of living with those conditions and how you would manage the impact of that on your sort of emotional well-being. We're also offering courses for each of those types of conditions, and we're offering an online therapy CBT program online, which they can access at any time, and they work through modules and learn sort of how to manage living with that condition. So yeah, there's a lot of support around that at the moment. So if anybody's got a diagnosis of one of those conditions, then all they have to do is call us up and we'll offer support around that and offer different types of support.
What is Silver Cloud?
So Silver Cloud is our online CBT programme. So CBT is cognitive behavioural therapy. And it's basically a programme that you can have access to and work at your own pace, looking at sort of tools and techniques to manage whatever the problem is that your programme's based on. So you have access to it for a year, and it can be like an app on your phone, so you can log into it and work on different modules and read quizzes and answer questions and basically learn about your problems. It could be a module on depression or on a health condition, and you'd have support to do it to begin with a practitioner for the first sort of 6 weeks, and then you'd be left with it for a year to sort of use at your own pace. And yeah, it's like having online therapy.
So most of what you offer is talking therapy. Do you think that's more important than medication, or do you think it's about the same?
So I suppose it is down to personal preference what people choose to use. I suppose I don't advise on medication because I'm not medically trained, but we see a lot of people that have medication and also engage in talking therapy, like cognitive behavioural therapy, and find that that's just as helpful. I suppose what we know about talking therapies, like cognitive behavioural therapy, is that it's really evidence-based. So there's lots of evidence to show that it can help people to lift their mood and improve their well-being, even if they're not on medication. And I suppose the benefits of changing behaviour and thoughts is long-term, whereas medication might only be for a certain period of time, and then you might have to maybe change medication. So, yeah, there's different benefits.
I think that's about it. So thank you very much, Ellie.
That's okay.
Before you go, could you remind us of the details?
Yeah, so if you're interested in any support with Lift Psychology, then you can just give us a call and ask. So 01793 836 836 is the main phone number. Or just look on our website, which is www.lift-swindon.awp.nhs.uk.
So that was Sam interviewing Ellie Wilkinson from Lift Psychology, and now it's time for Brian's Adventures in Faraway Lands.
Hi.
Hi, Brian. How's it going, man?
Oh, brilliant.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about today? We're going on
threatening times when I felt threatened by the situation, which didn't happen very often. I think the first time was Libya. I had a slight problem.
Mm-hmm. So tell us about Libya. Tell us about why you were there. And
yeah, okay. Libya is being run by Colonel Gaddafi at the time, and people are always worried about the place. And I've been asked to go and do a survey on a chemical plant, because they were worried about the corrosion problems they were having, and they said, could you go out and do it? And I thought, yeah, why not? So I went, and I was given an interpreter, and he drove me to the plant. And the plant was guarded by Dad's army. It was a gang of old-timers who were, not frontline troops, but they could guard a plant like that. So there they were. And we came up to the gate. He said, do not react. Don't do anything, just sit looking forward.
So you drove up to the gate where these Dad's Army types were, guarding it.
Yeah.
And the guy literally said, don't panic.
Well, the guy sat next to me said, don't panic, yes. He said, don't do anything. He said, just sit there.
Yeah.
So I thought, what do you mean, don't panic? So anyway, we got there, and what happened? This guy, he opened the door, shoved his AK-47 in through the door, right up my nose, and started ranting in Arabic. And I just looked forward, and he ranted more, and he ranted and got louder and louder, and then he sort of huffed and puffed and pulled the gun out and slammed the door, and we drove in. And I said, what was that all about? Oh, you see, he plays this game with expats. If he can scare them, he gets even worse and starts shooting rounds off into the air. But if he can't scare them, he gives up. So if you don't react, he'll give up. I said, yeah, you could have said. So I was feeling as though I was going to react at one stage. I was going to grab the gun and push it away, because I do not like a barrel was stuck out my nose.
No.
No, so that was the first problem we had. And then the only other time I got a real threatened session was in Liberia. Now, you know what happens with alcohol.
Yeah.
You get very brave. Dutch courage, they call it.
Mm.
Well, I was walking back from the bar to my house. Now, just outside my house was what was called the ATU, the Anti-Terrorist Unit, which is a bunch of local soldiers, and they were real pains. But they used to have fun taking on all the locals, sort of get a local guy. And of course, what you're going to do, you have to do what they say because they've got guns and you haven't. And so they had this particular guy and they'd stripped him off and was making him do push-ups and just generally laughing about and chucking water on him and things like that. And I thought, this isn't on. I mean, I really don't like having somebody being treated like that. And the other problem is, of course, they tend to make a lot of noise at night with their screams. So you don't, you're thinking, shall I go out and do something? No, it's too dangerous. But because I've been drinking, I decided I'd have a go. So I walked up to this corporal he was, and I found out his name later was Ezekiel. And I walked up to him, and I stood in front of him, and he was sitting on the floor. And I said, you should stand to attention when there's an officer present. And he sort of, huh? What? So he got up and said, yes, salute and behave yourself. So he sort of saluted, yes, sir, yes, sir. I said, now, what's all this? This man is a civilian. You are part of the President's army. What do you think people are going to think of the President's army when you're doing this sort of thing? It's appalling. It would not have happened in my army. But you're doing it. And he said, well, no, well, yeah, well, no, we won't do, we'll stop. And so they released this guy and let him go. And next morning when I came out of the house, Ezekiel was there. And he came over, sir! I thought, oh, right, okay. And we started talking. And I'd never been in the army in my life. So I've got absolutely no idea. So it was just all sort of rubbish. And so there we were, quite happily chatting, and we became the best of friends over a period of weeks because he thought that I was a sort of high up British officer and getting tips off me. Well, couldn't give him many tips, could I? But still, that's the only times that I have ever felt worried when I've been doing something, because it could have gone completely wrong and he could have whacked me or shot me or something. So, yeah, those are the only two times that I've been a little bit worried.
Wow. Thank you very much, Brian, for sharing your adventures in faraway lands. As always, they were extremely entertaining. If it's okay to take entertainment in your fear. But anyway, thank you very much for coming in and have an excellent day.
Thanks very much.
Rusty Goat's back again. Cheap jeans and cheap suits. In my charity shop rummages, I've found some real bargains, and I freely admit I'm a charity shop hoover, as beggars can't be choosers. I've picked up jeans from Levi, a tidy pair of Doc Martin boots, a blood red jumper from Quicksilver, and a funky pair of lime green boots, a nicely fitting woolen M&S suit, several items of super dry clothing. A friend calls me a brand addict, and that may be the case, but I'll never pay a penny more than I have to. Items of glass and pottery, I've made some profit on eBay. A couple of acrylic on hardboard paintings, I'll keep hold of those because I like them. The odd hat or two, but they were brand new. Children's toys from a little boy, the occasional box of Lego, puzzles and books. A Meccano Red Arrows plane kit that took several hours to construct, and that was for my grandson. I've bought tickets for charity shop raffles but never won. I found 10 Marlboros in the pocket of a jacket. I didn't buy the jacket because they wanted £10 for it. It was well overpriced, as it still had the original Primark ticket in it. I've bought books, but I'm not a big reader. I just like the way some books look. I've amassed a selection of old Ordnance Survey maps. I plan to use these as wallpaper in my new flat. I've also made donations on occasions of clothes that no longer fit, and they've probably gone back to the shop where I bought them. Now that's what I call recycling. A few books I've returned too. As I've said, I'm not a big reader. I'm sure someone else might like the look of them too. I rarely donate shoes because I generally wear them until they're falling apart, and that's what will happen to my funky green boots from art. But in these austere times, the pricing, I find, in some cases has gone through the roof. The brand name scrawled on the price tag like it's justification for the price hike. So my charity shop rummages have become less. I guess I'll have to start frequenting car boots.
From Rusty Goat's Poetry Corner to Terra 45 Wolf.
That was Wolf by Terra 45, and now a track called Hey Man by Phil Brown.
That was Hey Man by Phil Brown.
Next up, our old favourite SWADS client and singer Eve Golding with the cover of Clowns by Emily Sandé.
I guess it's funnier from where you're standing, 'cause from over here I missed the joke. Clear the way from my crash landing. I've done it again. Another number for your notes. I'll be smiling if I wasn't so desperate. I'll be patient if I had the time. I could stop and answer all of your questions as soon as I find out how I can move from the back of a line. I'll be your clown behind the glass. Go ahead and laugh, 'cause it's funny. I would too if I saw me. I'll be your clown on your favorite channel. My life's a circus, round in circles, sailing out tonight. I'd be less angry if it was my decision, and the money was just rolling in. If I had more than my ambition, I'd have time for please, and I'd have time for thank you as soon as I win. I'll be your clown behind the glass. Go ahead and laugh, 'cause it's funny. I would too if I saw me. I'll be your clown on your favorite channel. My life's a circus, round in circles. I'm sailing out tonight. From a distance, my choice is simple. From a distance, I can entertain. So you can see me. I put makeup on my face, but there's no way you can feel it from so far away. I'll be your clown behind the glass. Go ahead and laugh, 'cause it's funny. I would too if I saw me. I'll be your clown on your favorite channel. My life's a circus, round in circles. I'm sailing out tonight.
That was Eve Golding with a cover of Clown by Emily Sandé. And now our very own Guy Tentacles with a track called Together.
What you wanna do, what you wanna see, where do you wanna go, who do you want to be? What you wanna do, what you wanna see, where do you wanna go, who do you want to be? And we're not going to be alone, going to wait and let the light grow, seeping into our sights. It won't be too long now until we are And those two pieces of the jigsaw were never found. Those two pieces of the jigsaw were never found. What you wanna do, what you wanna see, where do you wanna go, who do you want to be? What you wanna do, what you wanna see, where do you wanna go, who do you want to be? And we're not going to be alone, going to wait and let the light grow, seeping into our minds. It won't be too long now until we are together. And those two pieces of the jigsaw were never found. And those two pieces of the jigsaw were never found. What you wanna do, what you wanna see, where do you wanna go, who do you want to be? What you wanna do, what you wanna see, where do you wanna go, who do you want to be? And we're not going to be alone, going to wait and let the light grow, seeping into our hearts. It won't be too long now until we are together.
I think that brings us towards the end of the show, Brian.
Yes, it does. And I think that we ought to talk about next month's show.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's a long way off for me. I'm not very good at.
Well, we're going to have Mandy, aren't we?
Yes, Mandy Thomas. Because you know how we had a chat with her earlier.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking to her again next week.
So we're having part 2 next month.
Yeah, part 2 next month.
Why are you going about
I don't
weeks?
know. Like,
Oh,
I'm
so
not very
you-
good. My grip on time isn't very good.
No. So after Mandy, what's that?
Well, we've also got an interview with Joe Heaven, which is an amazing name.
Oh, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Joe Heaven from where?
Well, she's from Empower, which is a charity that works in the Gambia. They work with women's rights and things like that.
Oh, it's one of the few places in Africa I never managed to go to.
Oh, okay.
Gambia, yeah, never
okay.
been there. Right. And anything else?
Speaking of places in Africa that you've been and places in faraway lands that you've been.
Yes, that's it. New Guinea next month. New Guinea. I'm going to be talking about the volcano that went bang. That was Mount Lamington. and my boss, who was an ex-regimental sergeant major in the Australian Army.
Oh, nice. I think we'd probably better let everyone go now and let them enjoy the next show.
Yes. So we see you again next month for
SWADS on the Air. While you listen to this, your ears can't look elsewhere.
Next Art and Soul Show, Tuesday, 3rd of April. Don't miss it.